On Monday, the Minister of Agriculture and Forestry, Associate Professor Dr. Linkham Douangsavanh, presented the draft Agricultural Development Strategy to the National Assembly as the government aims to allocate 4.5 million hectares of land for farming by 2030.
วิสัยทัศน์ในการคุ้มครองและพัฒนาที่ดินเกษตรกรรมฮอดปี 2040
Dr. Linkham explained that the government aims to allocate 4.5 million hectares of land for farming by 2030, comprising 19% of the country's total land area. This initiative is a key component of the Agriculture Development Strategy to 2030 and the Division to 2040, aiming to boost agricultural productivity and contribute to socio-economic development.
ประเภทและวางแผนนำใช้ที่ดินเกษตรกรรม 4.5 ล้านเฮกตาร์ตามแผนแม่บทในการจัดสรรที่ดินแห่งชาติ
According to Dr. Linkham, the National Land Allocation Master Plan to 2030, adopted in 2018, categorizes land into the 8 types with 4.5 million hectares designated for agricultural purposes. The plan proposes dividing agricultural land into 4 categories: 2 million hectares, 44% for general agriculture; 1 million hectares, 22% for short-lived crops; 0.8 million hectares, or 18% for fruit trees or long-lived crops; 0.7 million hectares, or 16% for pasture. Efforts have been made to assess the scope and quality of agricultural land, particularly in irrigated areas, and to identify land suitable for farming. The government has also introduced model farmers and farming families to showcase best practices. Despite progress, several challenges remain. Surveys, zoning, and agricultural land use planning are incomplete across the country. The demarcation and definition of agricultural land are not finalized. Farmers' land use practices do not always align with recommended techniques. Farmland in many areas is illicitly used for non-agricultural purposes. There is a lack of specific legislation to manage and develop agricultural land. Information on agricultural land is not readily accessible. Local expertise is limited, and some districts lack land management and development units. The budget for land management and development is insufficient.
แล้วทางในการสนับสนุนเรียกงานเกษตรกรรมอย่างตั้งหน้า
Dr. Linkham emphasized that if the proposed draft are approved and promulgated, the National Land Allocation Master Plan will be developed into a comprehensive strategy for the management and development of agricultural land.
มาตรการในการจัดตั้งปฏิบัติให้มีความเป็นจริงต่อหน้าและสอดคล้องกับยุทธศาสตร์
He said this will enable the government to classify and plan the use of 4.5 million hectares of farmland at both macro and micro levels, forming a basis for further socioeconomic development. The approved strategy is expected to 1. Strengthen land use planning and zoning for agricultural purposes. 2. Address issues of non-compliance and illicit land use. 3. Lay the groundwork for sustainable agricultural development. 4. Enhance food security and increase government revenues.
เพราะว่าเมืองปากซองเป็นดินที่อุดมสมบูรณ์ฉะนั้นในการปลูกกาแฟการปลูกพืชผักหรือว่าพืชฤดูหนาวนี่ถือว่าเหมาะสมที่สุด
By focusing on effective land management, the government aims to unlock the full agricultural potential of Laos and contribute to the country's long-term socio-economic goals.
การปลูกแต่ละอย่างโดยเฉพาะการเฮ็ดวิจัยนี่นะผลปลูกบางอันน่ะมันมีสารเคมีอยู่ในไม่หมากผลของเขาอันนี้ก็เป็นปัญหาหนึ่งคือการที่
Participants and the public can engage in discussions and share their views during the session via hotline at 156, email at nalao.156@gmail.com, or through the Lao NA application.